All right, so this is called the trifecta. Some of this is going to be a review for you, but I want to talk about how we can use FamilySearch, Ancestry, and Find-a-Grave together. So let's first talk about FamilySearch and what makes it unique. It is free for everyone, all in the community. Those who are members of the church, it's free for everyone. You can create an account, you log in, you create an account for free, and you have access for free for the rest of your life. It's open source. That means app developers can go in and tap into the information on there and use it to manipulate it, change it around, and make it back and as a positive experience for those who are on FamilySearch. And I'll show you some of the apps that they can do that you would create. You would go into that app and log into your FamilySearch account, and then you can view your tree in different ways. So we'll talk about that. It is the world's largest shared family tree, one for all and all for one. All of us can access this tree and find out where we are, and that means we can help each other and we can have access to each other's trees. It's kind of the Wikipedia model where anyone can add to it, make changes, and fix incorrect entries, or they can make mistakes, and we all make mistakes. That's okay. And so anything that you do can be undone or fixed or resolved. But that Wikipedia model allows for duplicate records to be created, so you can merge those records and then you don't have to do some of the work that's already been done. I really like this when I'm working on a family member and they get married, and I care about the spouse, but my line is the direct line. But sometimes that spouse has already been researched, and I'll make her a female, so she already has all the research done on her tree. So as soon as I add her as a spouse that got married, now she has access to her parents and her siblings and her grandparents, and I don't have to do any of that research because it's already been done. So I do like that. It is volunteer driven, international focus, and nonprofit, and the records are made possible through indexing. We're going to talk about the discovery activities experience. That's the cool part. It's kind of related to the open source and app developers. And you can add photos, stories, and that's free forever. Digital storage. Here's some of the apps that interact with FamilySearch. You can go to FamilySearch and click on activities and see a whole section on where am I from? Where in the world did you come from? It'll talk to you about what's unique about that spot. Go through your famous relatives. Because we're all in one tree, you can see immediately how you're connected to famous poets, authors, presidents of the United States, just anyone that's famous that has access to the tree. You can see how you're connected to them instantaneously because of that open source access. You can see what happened, what was the price of milk and bread and gas the year that you were born, how many other people share your same name, because we're all in one tree, so they can kind of combine all that in one spot. Compare a face is if you have uploaded your picture and your grandparents and parents and great grandparents, aunts and uncles, it'll kind of compare your face to theirs and see how you match up. And I'll show you that later. Here's some other ones. You can do some in-home activities. You can have all of the obituaries for your ancestors in one section and just comb through your obituaries, which is kind of neat. This ancestor challenge I've used before at a family reunion where we quiz everybody on how well they think that they know their parents and grandparents, and it'll kind of jumble it all together and intermix your maternal line with your paternal line. And then you have to figure out, how am I related to this ancestor? There's also World War I service records, World War II service records that are in its own collection. You can kind of go through those and how they're related to your tree and your ancestors. So, and there's more like that, but I'm just showing you a couple. Relative Finder is neat. You can go to relativefinder.org and log in. And as long as the other person that you're trying to figure out how you're related to them has also done that, you can see exactly how you're related to them. And this is kind of a neat story because, you know, I was working with Stephen Losi, who's in my ward, and he and I were sitting next to the computer, and he'd been in the ward for several months, and we're doing this relative finder together to find out we're fourth cousins. His parents and me and I am our fourth cousins, which is crazy. That's so close. So you can see it's through his mom's line up until James Edwin Talent, and then it goes back to the maternal, his mom's side. So it goes female, female, dad, and then mom, mom. And Annis Hulda Elmer was sisters with Mary Ellen Elmer, who's on my dad's side. But for me, you got to go to my grandparent and then go to the female. So the fact that this can pop up in just a second or two is amazing. The technology.
How do I get off of
see your access? So I thought that was great. Okay. Famous relatives. These are some of the famous relatives. You can see how you're related to inventors, scientists, entertainers, and it'll tell you, you know, this is my second cousin, 11 times removed. How I'm related. I'm related to all these people on the screen here. Thomas Jefferson, George Washington. They might be my 10th cousin twice removed, but just immediately pops that out, which is neat. Pozilla is another app that interacts with FamilySearch. This allows you to kind of flip up your tree upside down to look for missing descendants. So I think you're probably familiar with the view on the left where you've got just a kind of a fan chart look. The blue squares are males, the red circles are females. And so that's your tree. Anything that's gray means they're still living. So then you go out to your great, and this is the secret to family history work and always finding work to do. You go out to your great, great, great grandfather and look at his sibling and then flip him upside down. So now he becomes over there on this right screen. He becomes that middle circle right here. I don't know if you can see my mouse, but he becomes right here. And then his sons are in blue in the outer first circle and his daughters are in red. And so he had lots of kids, but this one right here, no one's done any research on because he doesn't have any kids off of him. So you're looking for missing tentacles in this. And the missing tentacles would be missing descendants, missing kids and grandkids. So this line, these lines have all been well researched, but not this one, this one, this one, this one, this one, or this one. So I like to use this when I'm helping people. I'll pull their tree up on Pozilla and go out to where I want to search and see if their tree has any missing tentacles. That's how you can find people. This is that compare face I showed you. So these are all the people that are on my tree that they think I'm similar to. And then it'll give me a percentage to who I look the most like. So this is my dad's dad. I thought I'm pretty close to him, but it only gives me 52% likelihood. They say I'm more like a Ruth Moon. I think it's because of my large nose, which I can thank her for that. So I think this is kind of fun. We use this on family activities, go into compare face, have everybody upload a picture and see who they're related to. And sometimes you get some fun ancestors that you might be related to, and some are more attractive than others. So it's kind of fun to have that activity. This is that ancestor challenge. So shows up your picture, pulls up your picture, and then it gives you some multiple choice options. So you go through and there's 10 questions and you try to pick who is this, which of these 4 is this picture of. So it's kind of fun. I like that. So those are unique apps that are related to FamilySearch because of their open source access. So now let's talk about Ancestry. Why would you use Ancestry? They were the first to come up with the suggested records and their shaky leaf hints. Any record they would say, hey, this might be your ancestor, and pop it in. Now that it's not a shaky leaf on FamilySearch. They do have that, but I still like that you can view your tree and see how it's related to the latest sources, the latest documents. So that's cool. I like that unique aspect of Ancestry. The right panel suggestions, this is my favorite part of Ancestry and why it's my go-to for researching. I start with Ancestry and why I'm going to search anything, just because if I can find one record of my ancestor, it'll throw up on the right panel all these other records that are most likely my same ancestor. So it's through a complicated algorithm that they do this, but many times I can throw that up and see an immediately maiden name or a married name, whatever I'm searching for. So very helpful. And you can see what records are out there without, and then you just go back to FamilySearch and attach them. I love that. I think Ancestry has a better search engine and an app. If you misspell your ancestor's name on FamilySearch, it doesn't do the best job finding that record. You almost have to, it's getting better, but you almost have to get exact spelling. And they mess up spelling all the time on records. So Ancestry, that's not necessarily the case. You can have a misspelled name and it will be smart enough to figure that out. It just has a stronger, more robust search engine. I love that. It's probably because they have so many paying subscribers. They have some money behind Ancestry. They have resources they can put in to improve that searching experience. Over 3 million, over $1 billion in revenue. They can just go out and buy access to Pennsylvania death certificates, for example, which is on Ancestry. They have more than 27 billion records and they add over 2 million records a day, which is outstanding. That's amazing. So why would you use Ancestry? Because they have so many records and they have money behind them. They're the largest in the world in DNA testing also. That's a huge reason to use Ancestry. If you spit into a cup and want to find out how make sure you, I guess, create a biological trail back to your ancestors, Ancestry is the way to go. So you create a tree over there and then spit in a cup and it'll tell you if you are truly biologically related to a grandparent or a great grandparent. It's nice. It's wonderful. And so many people are doing this, over 18 million. So you have the largest access and that's a wave of the future. So you got to use Ancestry for that and you can tie it back to your tree, which is wonderful. So let's just look side by side and see which one you prefer. On the left is the view my relationship status. So let's say I'm working on an ancestor. In this case, it's William Virgil Hughes up here. And FamilySearch says, hey, this is your great granduncle. This guy is the brother of Myrtle May Hughes, who is my great grandmother. So it kind of walks through how you're related by doing the lines. Over here on Ancestry, they walk it through person by person, and they just list it. Joseph was the son of Joseph up above, and then John is the son of Joseph, son of, and it kind of goes down through one by one. So just different ways to see how you're related. Maybe you like this list view and you immediately like it out, you call it out and it's easier to see, or maybe the visual is better for you. It just kind of depends on what your preference is. But there's just some differences between the two, and I think you should use both of them. Ancestry pedigree chart has those hints built in. So you see these little shaky leaf hints, there's records right there. So you can see your tree and know immediately where I can go in. I mean, there's almost all of these have new hints or new records where I can go in and attach. So you can kind of move it around, scroll it up and down, and just say, who do I want to work on? And you can see who doesn't have the latest and greatest records. So that's kind of neat. They have the standard pedigree view to the side, and some of the disadvantages both of these pedigree charts is you can only open one line at a time. So this is the Dillard line. If you want to see the Brown line, you gotta click on this and that'll open up the Brown line. But again, those shaky leaf hints throughout are really nice. I like that feature. Fan charts though, on FamilySearch, they've updated those and they're giving you other options over here on the left. So this is my go-to for, especially when I'm helping somebody else. I want to know what countries have done some research here. So in this tree that I'm looking at here, the parents and grandparents were born in the United States. And then after that, it's all Denmark, except for Germany over here in orange. But you quick visual view to see what country am I dealing with and where do I want to do some research and what do I know about these countries that makes it harder or easier to research. Um, but there's a quick view to see that versus not the case back here on Ancestry. More better, if you could say that. Ancestry is better for digging in on those little hints, those shaky leaf hints. This is better to see a quick view on birth country. You can also see by sources. So if I'm working on this tree, you like to see dark. You know, there's more than 10 records for each one of these ancestors. But if it's light, then you don't have as many. So there's only 1 to 4 sources out here. That might be related to the fact that it's Germany records, or that maybe just I haven't spent enough time on this side of the tree, or the person I'm helping hasn't spent enough time over here, and you can quickly see if that's the case by looking at the sources. You can also open up your tree and see 7 generations all at once. I like that. I just like this visual view. I can see where there's some holes. I can see, again, the country, but I can open this up to 7 generations or 5 or 6 and kind of tackle it that way. But if I'm helping somebody on this tree, this is where I'm going first, because this is United States and that's the first hole. And so I'm going to research this section here. Okay, now we got to talk about Find-a-Grave. So we talked about FamilySearch, why you should use that. We talked about Ancestry. Let's also talk about Find-a-Grave. And here's some highlights here. This is also volunteer driven. Once you've logged in and created an account, you can create any memorial you want if it's not already out there. You can make suggested edits to a memorial. So let's say you know where that person was born, or you have an exact birth date and maybe the tombstone just has the year. You can suggest that edit if you didn't create the memorial, or if the memorial is not out there, you can, if you've logged in and create an account, you can create the memorial and then link in family members. And I love that. I'll show you some pictures about that in just a second. You can upload up to 5 photos just by yourself, and 4 other people can do that. So up to 20 photos total. So you can snap a picture of the obituary and upload that. Now it's free out there and Find-a-Grave forever. Maybe you have a picture of the person, like a face, or the grave of the tombstone, or maybe a death certificate. So you can upload as many photos as you want. And now it's also out there on Find-a-Grave, which is highly visible for a lot in the community. It's also a place I go to right away after I've looked on Ancestry. I'll go right away to Find-a-Grave to see if somebody else has already done some of this research. I can find out if they've passed away, or if somebody else has already added their maiden or their married name. And sometimes, well, many times, family members are buried right next to each other. So if you find one, you can search for that surname in the same cemetery and see if they're all connected. Or someone might have already done all that and it's already linked in. And I'll show you some pictures to show you what I mean. So this is a memorial page for Obi Venster. Okay. From the tombstone, we know he was born in 1882, died in 1936. We don't know where, but we do know he's buried in Kellogg, Shoshone County, Idaho. Okay. But this Obi is buried right next to his wife, Maria, and somebody's already gone through and linked him together. So here's some children down here that somebody's linked in, and his spouse. So you can, if you just found Obi and you're trying to do some family history, pull this up on one page of your computer and then just go into FamilySearch or Ancestry, whichever one you're working on, and you can find all about this family already. You can also click on see more ventures in that same cemetery, or in the same city of Kellogg, or in the same county, or in the same state. So maybe other family members aren't buried in the same exact cemetery, but maybe they are in the same city, or in the same county, or in the same state, or maybe not, and you can just find all pensioners in US. But I love this feature that you can kind of create another family tree out here by linking in spouse and children. So that's what I've done. Here's a couple examples. This is Mary Gertrude Dillard Ferguson. I've linked in her parents and her spouse, her siblings and her children, and uploaded pictures if I had them, or if not, just we have a picture of their cemetery, of their, I'm sorry, of their gravestone. And I don't know, for me, I really connect with seeing a tombstone. It's written in stone, and I just have an affinity for them. There's a special place in my heart for these tombstones, and so I want them documented. I want them connected all the way. So and once you click on any one of these people, I want to be able to find their parents, their spouse, their siblings, and their children. So same thing over here with Rose May Payne, connected in her parents, her spouse, her children, and her siblings. So again, I think you should have all three of them. And I'm going to use some case studies to go through some examples using, well, in this first thing, we'll do Find a Grave. Okay, now when you're searching on FamilySearch, you can search the Find a Grave collection. It's in FamilySearch. You just have to trick the system a little bit, because the default search in FamilySearch is by birth location and by maiden name. So for females, you almost have to change that search to their married name. And if you know the state that they, or let's say they moved to different states, you'd have to change that to search for that location. So I'll show you what I mean. So this is Stella Maud Hodge. She was born in Tennessee, and we don't know when she died. And I like seeing that, because that means I can maybe go find her grave and see if I know anything about her. So she's got some sources, but we don't know where or when she died. So I'm going to see if I can find her on Find a Grave. So I'm going to click on Search Records through FamilySearch, and then click on Collections, because I don't want to go through all of these 1,443 records. So I click on Collections. Now I just want to search for Find a Grave, which is going to be in this birth, marriage, and death. But there's 39 different categories of birth, marriage, and death records. I just want to, again, I'm only searching for Find a Grave. So I'm going to click on Show All Records, show all 39. Oh, and there's Find a Grave. Click on that. That's what I'm looking for. Now, I do know some things about Stella Maud Hodge. I know she got married to Charles Monroe Howard, and I know she moved from Tennessee to Texas, and that was kind of the last record I found. She's living in Texas in a late census record. So I'm going to search for Texas, because I think that's the last record I found. She probably died in Texas, not Tennessee. So again, the default search over here in FamilySearch is whatever you have in FamilySearch. So in this case, I have her listed as Stella Maud Hodge, which you should list females with their maiden name, but she's not going to be on Find a Grave as a Hodge. She's going to be as a Howard. So I'm going to change her surname over here on the left from Hodge to Howard. I'm going to change the location that I'm searching for. It's not really where she was born, but I want the system to search. Right now it's defaulting to search for just Tennessee records. I want it to search for Texas records. So I'm going to change Tennessee to Texas just to search that. It's kind of how you trick the system. When I do that, she's the very first record, and there's only 47 possible matches, but she's this one right here. The birth dates match up. She was born in Tennessee. She died in Texas, the 26th of January, 1952. I found her death date and burial information under the married name of Howard in Texas. So I click on that, attach it to my family tree. This is the record on the left that's in Find a Grave. This is what I have in my tree on the column on the right. So I want to compare the two by clicking that in the middle. And now I can add the burial and add the death information, which I don't have before. I'm going to add or replace and attach. Anytime you're doing this where you find a record on FamilySearch, you want to do that. Add, attach, or replace, attach. Okay, now I have documented source, for Stella Monhage of her burial, and it's go right to find a grave. And if I click on that, I can actually see the tombstone. Okay. Now that was using find a grave. Let's use Ancestry and see if we can find something about females. Okay, so here's this. In this case, I'm working on Ellen A. Carpenter. I don't know if she got married. I do have two sources of records for her. She's living in 1900 at home with her parents, and in 1910. Okay, she's just, she's under 20, so she's living at home. But then that's all I have for her, and I need to find her her married name. All I have is Ellen Carpenter, her maiden name. But if I can pull up that record in Ancestry, one of those two sources that I have, one of those census records, then I can use that record panel in Ancestry. So I'm going to search records of Ancestry this time to see if I can do that. And now I'm going to click on that 1900 census where she's living at home with mom and dad. That's the one or two known records. Here's the 1910. I could click on either one of these. But I'm going to click on a known source for my ancestor, the person I'm looking for, and then look at the suggested records over here on the right. Again, I don't know how the technology works. I think it's a complicated algorithm, but it works and it's great and I love it because now I have her not just in the 1910 census, but the 1920, 30, 40, and her maiden name was Carpenter, but I know her married name is Phillips. I've got a death certificate. I can add her middle name. I can add her married name and get her in 3 more census records. So again, I love this right panel suggested records option for Ancestry. And it's a little secret, it's a hint, but it's a tip, but I think it's something that we can use and help those that we're helping or help ourselves and build our tree really easy using these sources. So here I go, I now have her spouse's name and I can add and attach everything. It's just a wonderful, wonderful resource that I think we have to use on a regular basis, okay? Now let's use FamilySearch to see what we can find here. A lot of times the little trick in FamilySearch is to search for the siblings or the spouse or others in the family member because many times they lived back at home with mom. So I'm searching Mary J. Rowe, and she was the daughter of David and Susan Howard. But I can only find her in the couple census where she's living either at home or with her grandparents. And that's it. And I'm done researching. There was nothing there. I couldn't use any other resources, but I want to use FamilySearch to search. So instead of just searching for Mary, I'm going to search other family members and try to kind of complete all of the records that I can for David and Susan to see if later on in life they're connected to Mary in some other record, maybe a census record or a death record or marriage record or something. Maybe I can find more about Mary. So let's do that. I'm going to search on FamilySearch on the mom, not the daughter. Again, the daughter's the one I'm looking for, but I'm going to search with the mom, Susan E. Howard, because there's some, I don't know when she died, but she's only 40 in the 1880 census. So if she lived longer, let's try to find her in the 1900 or 1910 census. Okay, every year until she's gone. So here I am on the mom. I'm searching Susan E. Howard, but again, I only want the next census available, which in this case is the 1900 census. So I don't want to comb through all 2,534 records. And I have to change her maiden name to her married name because Susan E. Howard's not going to be 40 years old under her maiden name. She's going to be under her married name of Rowe. So again, I changed the search, the default search over here from Howard to Rowe. And I'm only searching for that 1900 census. So last time I was looking up here for find a grave. This time I'm just going to search for the 1900 census. So I click on that. Here she is right here, misspelled. And she's got the daughter, and her last name is now Carpenter. Okay, there's only 8 possible options here, so I can go through these other ones. but that was the daughter's name that we were looking for, Mary. And now we found her, and we know her married name is Carpenter. Okay, not only that, but in that census record, we have her husband and some children, and then the 1920, 30, and 40 census reveals 5 children down here. So just a great option to find, and it was a wonderful find here because we use FamilySearch to search for other family members. So you can find maiden names or married names, just a little more tricky with some of those. Okay, so the last section of this presentation today is on Zoom. I know some are trying to figure out what's going on with Zoom. Here's some tips and tricks. So I'll share just a couple of slides about Zoom and some of the things you can do. You can do some of these things. You can set up a Zoom meeting. If you go to zoom.com, you can create a free account for everyone, and you can create you can have as many 45-minute long videos or Zoom meetings as you want. That's if there's more than one person. You can have as many as long as you want with just one other person. But if you have a Zoom meeting with 4 or 5 other people, you can go in and create that account. I think we have to know how to mute yourself or show your face, but as the person who creates the meeting, that would be the host, you can mute other people. And I'll show you how to do that. How to share your screen, or if you're giving somebody else access to share your screen, the host can give anyone access to share their screen. So I'll talk about that. And you can set up a fun background, but that's only available on the premium access. So if you have, let's say you have one through, a larger church organization or through your work, you might have some premium access, and then you can change your background. Okay, so at the bottom of your screen when you're on Zoom, you should see these options down there: mute, video, start video, participants, share screen. You might not see this 3 dots down there, but if you're watching the Zoom, you're participating in Zoom right now, you can see that. Now, sometimes you have to kind of move up and down your mouse to get these to show up, because they're trying to show you the best Zoom screen. They don't want this bar up there all the time. It kind of gets in the way. But if you move your screen around, things pop up. So mute, the rule of record here is to always mute unless you're speaking, just because you can avoid some background noise. You might not realize it, but there might be noise in the other room, or just your fan is going, or somebody's talking to you and you're just not sure. So the suggestion here, the rule of thumb, is to always mute unless you're speaking. So you got to have that, be ready to click on that as needed. Show your video. Right now, this slash means nobody can see you, but if you click on that, everyone can see you. So I think you should always show your video unless you're going to the bathroom or driving. You can click on participants and see a whole list of people on the call. You can share your screen. That's this green one. And that shows everybody what your computer screen is on. So let's say this is very helpful if I'm helping somebody with family search. I can see their tree without even getting access by pulling up on Zoom and having them share their screen. Again, this 3 dots over here, and that's only available on premium accounts. You can do stuff like share Zoom to Facebook Live, or create breakout rooms, or there's some other cool fun options. So here's the participant list. I took a snapshot of this as people were joining, and you see if I click on Roxanne, I can mute her, or I can click on more and I can change her name. I can give her access as a co-host so that she can share her screen. So as the host, that's me, I can go through and do some fun things. So T. Neal is now Toby Neal. I changed his name. But you can just go through, and I can click on this to mute them. Like you can see Shayla Hannon is on, and she had her video off. But I could turn her video on, or I could mute her, or I could unmute these Loretta and Toby if I wanted to, if they were trying to talk. Okay, so the host can do all of that. Now, you can also do it. So I can click on Toby and rename him as Toby Neal, but he could go back and click on participants and right-click his own name and rename him whatever he wants. So there's that option that people can see who you are. But as the host, you can mute anyone and everyone. At the very bottom, there's an option to mute all. So I can mute everyone if I wanted to. You can give anyone access to share their screen by right-clicking and say, create him as a co-host. So that's kind of a feature for the host. Sharing a video with sound is a little bit tricky. When you go to click on share your screen, again, that's the screen back here. So if I'm clicking on this button, let's say the host is giving me access and I'm sharing my screen, or I am the host and I want to share a video clip. And so I click on share screen. This is what pops up. So I have a couple of screens up on my computer right now. I've got a chat, I've got a snipping tool, I've got the family history trifecta presentation that I'm doing right now. But the default is just my whole screen. So I could just share one part of my screen, but I'm going to share the default. I typically leave that alone. But if you're going to share a video, you got to click these options down at the bottom. Share computer sound and optimize screen for sharing. And that will help the video be less choppy and everyone can hear the video. If you need them to hear the video, you want to click on that. If you don't, it's just going to know, hey, you're talking, and so you should share your audio just on what's on your computer. But it's not, if you don't click this, it's not going to share the video audio on your screen. Does that make sense? So you got to click on both sections down there. All right, so that's it. That's the end of my presentation. But the lesson is my last kind of statement here is to use all three sources. You want to use Ancestry, FamilySearch, Find-a-Grave. You want to use them all because they're all helpful. So that's all I have, Gloria.
Okay. Ryan, that was great. I learned something again, and I saw it before, and I really appreciate everything. I think you should pretty much spend every Saturday evening with us, so we'll see about setting that up. It was wonderful. Thank you so much.